In this lecture, we will take this interior office and we will texture this to make it look like this. So the rendered final result would look something like this. So let's start with a file that doesn't have any of the textures. Okay, so this is empty, it doesn't have any texture. If I open up the Hypershade, you can see that there's just the default Lambert, there's nothing more. And all these objects that we have here are being connected to this default Lambert. So we'll start creating materials. So I'll start with the floor first. So as you can see, the floor and the walls are one single piece. So the easiest way to texture this is I can select the face, for example the floor face, and we will apply a texture on this, and then we will select the walls and apply a different texture on that. So I've selected the floor. I will right click to choose assign new material. I'm going to apply some kind of a wooden texture for the floor, and I want it to be a little bit shiny, so I will add a blend material on this. I'll go ahead and give a name for this, floor. Let me go to the color attribute, go to the options and choose file, and here I can go to file, and I have all the textures that I'm going to be using for this project inside the source images folder. So I'll get into source images folder, so I'll hit open. So the texture file is being already applied. To make it visible, we will have to either click on this button to make the textures visible, or we can also press the 6 key in the keyboard. Now as you can see, the texture is too big, so I can make it smaller either by applying a projection here, by going to polygons and create UVs, planar mapping, or I can also adjust this from the attributes of the texture. So let me do this through the textures attribute now. I've got lots of history information here. I can get rid of them by going to edit, delete by type, history. Okay, so as you can see, there's the default Lambert connected to these two faces, and there's our floor connected to this one single face. So I'll go to the attributes of the texture file, and let me move to the texture placement, that is place 2D texture, and here I can increase the repeat UV. By default, both the U values and the V value is 1, so that means one single copy in U and V. So if I make it 2, for example, as you can see, it shrinks to make 2 copies, and I will just go ahead and make this, let's say 2. So you can see that now we get total of 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles of the same texture. I'll increase this to, let's say 8, and I'll increase this to 4. So I think that looks good. Let's go to the render settings. This time I'll use Maya's mental ray. Let's go to the quality and make it preview. Okay, there's no indirect lighting. Let's go ahead and take a render. As you can see, it looks very much reflective. It has got lots of reflection from the other objects, so we don't need this much of reflection. We can reduce the reflection. For the floor blend attributes, let's go down to reflectivity. Let's reduce this to something like 0.1. Let's save this image and check how it looks after making the change. So this is much better. So you can compare, there was lots of reflections, and now there is less reflection. So this is perfect. But there's a little bit of reflection, but it is not very much prominent, which is good. So next thing is we will start with the walls. I'll pick up these two faces. I'll right click and choose new material. We'll give a Lambert because it is not going to have any reflectivity, so Lambert is fair enough. I'll write this as wall. So now let's go to the color, and I will choose file. Let's go here, choose browse, and I'll find out, okay, concrete. So there's basically a color map and a bump map. So if you want, you can apply the bump map also. So I'll apply the color map. This also requires some tiling. I'll have to go to the placement. Let me increase this repeat UV to something like 8, and again here before, say maybe 8 itself, 8 by 8. Okay, it looks a bit straight horizontal lines, but usually you would find vertical lines, so you can keep it horizontal lines also. If you want to make it vertical lines, you can also rotate it like so. So now you get slanted lines. You can make it vertical by moving to making it 90 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and take a render. Okay, I think that looks good. Nice. So next we will move on to this curtain that we have. I'll select the curtain. Let me come out, select the curtain, and for the curtain I will apply new material. You can actually have Lambert because curtain is not going to have any reflectivity. So I'll choose this, go to file, and before that I can give a name for this curtain. Go to color, choose file, and go to file, browse, and choose the texture that we have. Where is it? Yes, there you go. So I'll pick this one, click open, so it gets filled up. Okay, so if you like to leave it like that, you can, but if you want to add more tiling, you can also do that. So let me try how it looks. Let's say I'll repeat UV to something like 4 times. Maybe that's too much. I'll just give 2, 2. I think that looks good. Now sometimes you will find that when you repeat like this, if the top area has got brightness and bottom area has got darkness, you will find this line that's actually showing you where it is actually making the two tile pieces match. So what we can do is we can do a mirror. So what it'll do is it'll continue or make a mirror of this one side to the other side, so that you cannot actually see the seam or the connecting area. And we can also do the same for V. So again, there also you cannot see. Without the V, you can see that there's this bright color ending, and then there's a darker color that is starting up just from there. So I can just turn this on so that it will make it seamless. Okay, so that's good enough. So the walls are finished, the curtains are finished, the floor is finished. So the next is to work with the whiteboard that we have. I'll apply a new material, blend, and write this name, whiteboard frame. Go to color, file. Okay, I think that's good enough. I'll click open. I'll choose this, go ahead and apply a new planar mapping. There you go. So make it squeezed in, squeezed out. Maybe keep it something like that. Okay. Because for the inside area, we will apply something else. And for these edges, they're getting this streaks. We can apply a cylindrical mapping, 1, 2, or we can also apply a planar mapping for these two together, and one for the top and bottom. So I'll select these two, apply a planar mapping, go to options, project it from x-axis, project. Okay, move it to make it blacker area. I can do the same thing from top to bottom. Especially bottom is not going to be visible anyway, but still we'll just apply a planar mapping on that. Planar mapping, sorry. Options, planar mapping, options, and choose y-axis because it's from the top, project. Good enough. Okay, now finally we'll apply new material for this center area. So right click, new material. This is going to be again blend, name it as whiteboard go to color, file, choose from here, whiteboard, click open. So it comes with multiple copies. We can fix that. I'll select this to a planar mapping again, and this time it'll be from z-axis. Click project. Okay, that's wonderful. Now if I want, I can do a little bit of, okay, I think that's good enough. When you do that, make sure that it's not showing the repeated copy of it. I'll push this towards the left a bit. Okay, good enough. Select that. Let's make a small render and see how that looks. Click render. Okay, that's good enough. I've got a lot of reflection actually. I can reduce that later. Okay, so that's good enough so far. Now let's go ahead and start texturing for the table that we have here. I can actually hide these chairs so that it'll be easy for us to work with. So first we will apply the texture. Right click, new material. I'll name this as round table. Okay, and I'll go to color attribute, go to file, go to browse, and let's pick up this one, say open. Okay, so it comes out just like that. I will choose face, pick up all the faces. Let's pick up all the faces, and I'll get rid of those that are horizontal. So I'll press Alt key, press Shift key. Okay, so that gets rid of those. I'll press Shift and Control. I will press Control key, click and drag on these. So this will just remove those that are not needed. Okay, I'll Shift and Control, click and drag, and this last one. So everything that I've selected now is from the projection from the top. So all I have to do is go to create UVs, planar mapping, go to options, and I'll project from Y, project. Okay, that's wonderful. So just a simple projection. It looks good. Maybe if you want, you can stretch it out a bit, move it in or out. Okay, so that's good enough. Now one other thing is, like, if you don't want to show the same exact appearance on this bottom one, you can change, you can select just those faces and apply a different mapping. For example, I can select this region and I can choose create UVs, planar mapping, the same mapping, but I can rotate it to show some kind of asymmetry. So just something like that. So it won't look the same exact design both in the top and in the bottom. Okay, and next is we will select all these that are circular shape, go to face. They actually have a nice mapping there, but if you still want to make it better, you can. So I'll go ahead and select all these, select them, shift select these, shift select these, and shift select these. One last thing that is inside here. Okay, good enough. So after selecting all these, all I have to do is apply a cylindrical mapping. So I'll go to create UVs, cylindrical mapping. Okay, you can push this all the way around. That's wonderful. Okay, so that's the table. So let's go ahead and render that out. Okay, so that's wonderful. All I have to do is, it has got lots of reflection, so I'll reduce the amount of reflection that is there. I'll go ahead and choose reflectivity, make it 0.05. That's very less reflection. So let me just select this region and do a region render so that we can compare having too much of reflection and having less reflection. So having less reflection looks more natural to a wood table. So the next part is here. Now for this one, I'm going to apply a few different textures, materials. So first I will apply one common material. So I'll go ahead and apply a blend. So for this also, let's keep the reflectivity too low, so something like 0.05, and let's give a name to this. This is like table, and I will choose color, choose file. I'll apply this one, the brown one, say open. So that gets applied to everything. Now it by default it looks nice, it doesn't have any big problem, but I just want to show some difference, so I will apply different materials to different places just to show some difference. So I'll go ahead and pick up the center ones. Now this is totally up to your personal preferences. You can leave it like this. If you want to leave it like this, you can leave it like this, and if you want to apply a different material, you can also apply a different material. Now at this point, since we're making lots of selections and we might have to make selections again and again, it's a better idea to save selections. So I made this selection. All I can do now is go to create and sets, and I can choose quick selection set. So I can give a name for this. I'll make this as center part of let's say center table, so something like that. So I will say I can either add to shelf, or I can have OK, so that it will be showing up here in quick selection sets. You can see that it shows center table. So even if I lose the selection, all I have to do is select the object and go to select and choose quick selection sets, center table, so that it will bring in the selection back. Let me just go to faces and choose edit, selection sets, center table. So you can see that it brings out the selection. So even if you lose the selection, you can always get it back by creating selection sets. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply a different material on this. So let's right click, new material, let's choose blend. Immediately I'll make this reflectivity to be like 0.05, and let me go ahead and choose color and file. This time I will choose a different wooden texture, so something like this. Let's say open. Okay, so it gets applied to all of them. Now all I have to do is apply a planar mapping to each of them. So I'll go to create UVs, planar mapping, but I have to change the axis of projection to be Z. I think that looks good by default. I'll just apply that to all of them. Now we have to do it each of them separately in order to get the shape to fix inside. So I think that looks good. Now if you want, you can also add different borders. Say for example, we've got a top border here. For this border we can apply a different material. I'll right click and choose assign new material. I'll choose blend, we'll give a name, table, border, top border. Now it's always better to name all the materials that you're creating so that it will be easy for you to apply them later to a different area if you want. 0.02 or 0.05, whatever it is. And I'll apply a different color. I'll choose a light color here. Open that up. Let's try something like a light color texture, or I can even apply something like this. Okay, let me apply this one. Okay, so something like that. And if you want, you can also do the same thing for this bottom area. You can apply the same material. Let me pick up from here, top border down here. So So you can see that it gives some different appearance on that. So we can make a render to see how that looks. It looks fair enough. Okay, the next is moving on to this chair. So as you can see, I have basically applied a simple smooth, that is by pressing the keyboard shortcut number 3 and 1, and I've made it smooth. Now this smooth will not appear to be smooth when you make a render normally with Maya software. So with Mental Ray it accepts with smoothness. With Maya software render it will not accept as smooth. So you have to be careful keeping that in mind. So if you want to render with Maya software, you will have to apply a mesh smooth before rendering. For a Mental Ray, that is not required. So for these two things, I'll create a new material. I'll choose, I will not choose blend, I will choose something like anisotropic material, because that will give us a better reflection and better shininess on metal looking objects. So I'll keep it like that, and I'll choose a different color. I'll pick up something like a bluish color. So I'll choose blue and move towards something like that. Okay, and because it is a metal, I'll try to make this to be more sharp as possible. Try to push it towards the left a little bit more. Okay, and try to increase this. Okay, that looks good enough, I think. Okay, good enough. And I think the color looks fine. Let's make a render and see how that looks. Okay, it has nice results. I will just make it a bit more darker. Okay, let's try how this looks. I'll just render one side so that we can have a comparison. I think that is nice. Okay, maybe between those two. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now for the chair, we'll also have to apply a couple of materials on these. I'll create a new one. This would also be a blend. I'll give a name. Okay, I'll go to color, file, browse. Okay, I'll apply this one. Give a name to this. Small chair metal. Okay, I'll apply a projection mapping on this. I'll do a planar projection, planar mapping, options, projected from y-axis. That's wonderful. I think that looks good. I'll apply the same material on this one. Right click, existing materials. I'll choose red seat, projection mapping, planar mapping. This time it will be projected from x-axis. Project. That's it. Now these are all just duplicates of the same chair, so all I have to do is I'll go to outliner, select all these duplicates, delete them, and make duplicate from here. So I'll press Ctrl D, move further, press Shift D as many times as you want, depending on how many copies you want. So finally, the other chair that we have, turn that chair on, and this chair also has got lots of duplicates. So I'll select all these duplicates, delete them, so that we can work on this one chair, and then finally we can duplicate again. I'll hide the table for easy to work with. So I'll pick up these two things and I will apply one single material on these two. Select both of them, right click, new material, blend, go to blend 10 and give a name for this. This is like blue chair, blue seat. Okay, And let's go ahead and reduce the reflectivity to 0.05 or 0.2, and I will actually make the reflectivity 0. Let's go to color, file, pick up, I've made a seat here, there you go, say open. Okay, so that opens up something like that. Now all I have to do is select all these and apply a planar mapping. Now this time you can see that this shape is not actually fitting into any of the axes. So the other choice that I have is I can choose my camera to look exactly, that means like perpendicular to the plane that I want to project, and I can go to planar mapping options, and this time I will choose camera. So it will basically project based on the camera onto the subject. So I'll make a projection now, so that's good enough, and I will make it smaller to make it fit, and I'll make it a little bit more smaller, and I'll push it down so that the top is actually fitting in nicely. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces fitting up perfectly there. It'll have the same thing in the back. Now if you want to apply a different color on the back, you can also do that. I'll leave it like that because I'm not going to focus more on the back side. And the top area, for this we can apply a cylindrical mapping. Select these. Okay, I'll go to create UV cylindrical mapping. Now the cylinder comes like this. We have to rotate it a bit. I'll click on this little T symbol, go here, rotate, there you go. So I'll rotate it something like 0, guess, no, sorry. Okay, I'll have to rotate it here 90 degrees. Okay, that's good enough. Now again, I'll try to make the texture match with the bottom area. So we've got 4 pieces here, so I'll try to get 4 pieces here also. So when we have 4 pieces, it should technically match with the bottom area. I think that's good. And now we have to make it a bit bigger. I'll push this down. Okay. And I'll rotate it a bit upwards so that it matches up nicely. Good enough. I'll move it a little bit to the left and down a bit. Okay, that's perfect. Now I have the side areas. Let me pick up all these side areas, these ones, this one, this one, this one, this one. Actually the ones that are in the back also, so I'll select like so and select like so. So let's check if everything is selected. Wonderful. And for this I will apply a planar mapping, and before applying planar mapping I will also have to apply a different material because this material doesn't work well here. So I'll right click and choose new material, choose blend. I'll name this as seat side. Okay, so for the side area I will apply, I can even apply a simple color, so that is also possible, or you can apply a texture. I'll pick up a texture and apply something like this, or this, or this. I think this looks good, so apply that. And let me get the selection back. Okay, I could have saved this as a selection set, but that's okay. I can select it like so. Create UVs, planar mapping, options. Let's project it from x-axis. Project. So it looks too big. We will have to stretch it out and scale it down. Okay. Now we'll have to do the same thing here. Face. Go closer. Pick up all these faces. and a planar projection, create UVs, planar projection. It has to be from the top, so y-axis, project. Let's try to have the same 4 pieces and make it smaller. That's it. Let me push it a little bit backwards. And for the side, we'll apply the same material here. Go to the side view to select all of them. Okay. And projection. Before projection, we have to actually apply the material. I'll go to existing ones and let me pick up the seat side. Yes. And create UVs, planar mapping, options. This time I'll project from x-axis, project, stretch it up and scale it down. Okay, now we can actually smooth these things out. And I'll smooth these things out also. Okay, that's wonderful. Now for all these other metal pieces that I have, I'm going to select all these things. These are all metal pieces, so I'll apply the same material that I've applied here, the metal one. So I'll right click on that, and there has to be only one anisotropic material. I must have named it as chair metal. There we go. Okay, so that's good enough. Let's make a render and see how that looks. Okay, so that's good enough. Let's go ahead and close that. And finally, I've got these 2 dustbins. Right click, favorite material, apply blend. Actually, Lambert is good enough. Not going to have any reflection. I'll go to options. I'll give a name for this, bin. I'll go to options and choose color, file, and let me find out. I've found a nice texture for this. Yeah, there you go. I'll hit open, and all I have to do is increase this UVs, or I can also apply planar cylindrical mapping. That is better, I think. I'll go ahead and choose create UVs, cylindrical mapping, and there you go. That does it well. Okay, so all I have to do now is delete this one. It's the same object, so I can delete this one, make a duplicate from here, Control D, push it all the way to the other side. Let's turn on the table. One last step, we have to make a duplicate of this chair. Let's select it. The pivot point is in the center, and all I have to do is go to edit, duplicate special. Let's go ahead and reset everything. I want to rotate it in y-axis to, I think, 45 degrees with 7 copies. So I'll hit duplicate. There you go. So everything is done. Let's go ahead and take a quick render. Okay, so that's good enough. I think I'll reduce this reflection a bit. Anyway, let me add lighting and see how that looks. To try to create something like office interior, I'm going to simulate tube lights. So I'll put some 9 light sources in the top. So I'll create lights, area light. I'll pull it up, rotate it so that it looks down, something like -90 degrees, and I want to make it a bit bigger, not too big. Let me go to the top view so that I can see something like that. I'll change a couple of attributes and then I'll make duplicates. Go to attribute editor. Let me make the intensity a bit less, something like 0.8, not too much, but just a little bit, and turn on shadows. Use ray trace shadows, give shadow rays to be something like 10. Now I'll make some duplicates, Control D, push it to the left, somewhere here, make one more duplicate, push it to the right somewhere here. I'm just giving I'm leaving some 20 grid units different, so I'll select these three, make a duplicate, move them here, select push it something like that, Control D, and push it somewhere here. So we basically have 9 lights. I'll select all 9 of them. I'll have to push them up a bit. You can create a group so that it'll be easy for us to move together. I'll move it up to the roof. That's good enough. Okay, so I'll go ahead and try to get everything inside. Okay, good enough. Let's go ahead and save the previous one just for a simple comparison, and I'll make a new render. Now at this moment we can make any final changes if we want. I think this material, I forgot to reduce the reflectivity. It's got lots of reflections. Those chairs looks very nice. Okay, so that looks fine. Good enough. And this also has got lots of reflection, so let me just go ahead and select these few of these materials, right click, go to whiteboard. Whiteboard doesn't need any reflection. Let me make it point, I think I'll make it 0. And this material, the seat side, has got reflection, make it 0. And even the seat doesn't need any reflection, yes. And the floor also, I will reduce the reflection a bit more, so something like 0.03 or something like that. I hope that almost fixes it. We can have a comparison of how it was before and now. It looks much nicer. Okay, I'll make one more render by saving this after changing these reflections and stuff. Okay, so this concludes this lecture on interior texturing.